Welcome. My name is Chris Tam, and this is my presentation on professional strategies on electronic communications. I'm sure just about everyone has used email at some point in their life. This presentation should help anyone that uses email on any other type of electronic communication at a professional level. So let's get started. Why? This presentation is to help inform everyone on how to use electronic communication effectively. Why? I can ask the same question to you as in what made you want to join my presentation. So what made you want to include yourself in this presentation?
Well, lately I've had to write more electronic communication due to working on a project with the new company, and I just felt like I could use as much information as I can get because I'm communicating to many different people now, architects, construction people, things like that, and I want to make sure that I'm being clear in those messages and that we have a good project.
Well, hopefully this presentation will help you out in that area. Let's start it off here. Originating the communication, basically just you proposing a message. And here's a couple of pointers. Keep it short and to the point. Use the subject line to your advantage. Consider all emails and text public. Watch your tone. Use signatures judiciously. Recheck everything. For urgent messages, ask for an acknowledgement. We'll start off with keep it short and to the point. Like myself, I would rather have the email be short and straight to the point so I don't have to read on and on and on. And you get tired and you get lost through the message at times. So limit each message to one or two issues. Including too many topics virtually ensures that some will go unaddressed, especially with the proliferation of smartphones and other smaller devices. So do you have an opinion on that? Would you rather, when you're reading a message?
Whenever I read, if it's too long, then I usually just delete or not get all the information.
Just don't want to go through it.
Right.
All right, and use the subject line to your advantage. You can avoid being ignored if you specify what you're communicating about and call attention to urgency. Which, I could see that. You don't want to have just one word, and you don't want to have a sentence in the subject line. You want to kind of get, make them open it, basically. You want them to know what's going on. Consider all emails and texts public. Messages have a way of spreading beyond the initial recipients, so it's best not to say something you wouldn't want others to hear. A disclaimer at the bottom of an email won't keep others from being offended. You don't want to send an email and accidentally send it to a boss or someone important that you're sending to your buddy at work that they might find offensive or just not appropriate for a work setting. Watch your tone. This may seem obvious, but some people have been stung when their attempt at humor or irony didn't come across as intended. Misunderstandings are common among native English speakers. Imagine how much worse they can be when you're dealing with a different culture. It's best to adopt a straightforward manner and save the nuances for conversation. That is a big thing about one-on-one. Conversations are so much better than electronic communication because of this tone factor. But of course, with nowadays, email communication is more common to the younger youth than the one-on-ones. Use signatures judiciously. A signature with your title and contact information is essential, but large images or quotes can be off-putting. Which, of course, in our company, we use similar things in almost every email I receive. Everyone has a title just like that. Recheck everything. Before hitting the send button, reread messages for typos or other mistakes and make sure attachments are in fact attached. This is a biggie for me. Just ever since I've been working here, I've always rechecked after I wrote a sentence just to make sure the grammar is okay or just spelling. Just it makes me feel, don't want to say stupid, but just not smart when I send something that it doesn't go well. For urgent messages, ask for an acknowledgement. If your email services offer it, use the return receipt option. Things do sometimes disappear into the ether or get lost in overstuffed inboxes, which Microsoft Outlook does have an urgent message where you can send that it's important and it'll notify you that they've read it. You can also put that option. So if they read it, it'll let you know. And that can help in situations like this. Responding to a message. Now, this is to where you're actually responding rather than composing a message, basically. So here are some pointers. Answer as quickly as possible. Read incoming messages carefully. Repeat any questions before answering them. Use the reply all function with care. Be even more judicious forwarding messages. Reserve the auto reply function for general or unexpected communication. First off, answer as quickly as possible. Try to answer within 24 hours. This practice is both practical and courteous, as it's easy to lose track of a message once you've put off a response. I agree and disagree. Yes, you want to answer as quickly as possible within 24 hours, but some people don't like it when you answer right away because it makes them think that you're not busy, like you don't have work to do, so they expect that quick answer every time. So read incoming messages carefully. Respond to all issues or questions. When multiple issues are raised in one message, it's easy to miss some, but doing so will frustrate the person on the other end. I've had this problem when I've asked a customer a question and more than one, and they answer one and then they won't answer the other. So then you have to send them another email. Either they could have been trying to figure out that answer and just didn't answer, or they just didn't see it and you have to keep asking and asking and asking. If you keep asking when they're trying to find out, they might get a little upset because you're bugging them when they're trying to figure it out, but they should be able to relay that communication to you. Repeat any questions before answering them. The person you're answering may not remember what he or she asked by the time you answer, and no one likes having to dig into a past thread to pick out the subject at hand. Use the reply all function with care. Don't leave out someone key, but conversely, don't waste others' time by including them in a conversation that doesn't apply to them. This can waste some time for some people. This is in social media and everything when you have, or text messages, when you get included in a conversation, you just want to get out of it. Be even more judicious when forwarding messages. Sensitive messages can end up in the wrong hands because someone thoughtlessly hit the forward key without first checking the entire thread for appropriateness. This goes back to the same thing from composing a message. You don't want to accidentally send something to someone that's important or a boss. It can end up bad and actually can end up losing a job over it. So just don't forward it to people that don't need it, or just don't be inappropriate at work at all. Reserve the auto reply function for general or unexpected communication. For important and or current contacts, send a personal message in advance letting them know you'll be away. This is off of Microsoft Outlook, and you could have your time set up, but it is best to people that contact you quite often to let them know you're going to be out ahead of time so they don't get this message and they'll just know not to message you. Here's a couple additional communication help for electronic communications or email. Keep any quotations short. Avoid prescriptive notes or homilies. Take your logo or other graphics out of your signature. Never use animated graphics in professional communication. Remember that each reply adds to the problem. Keep any quotation short. Quotes that go on waste valuable real estate and will most likely get ignored. If they are read, it will be at the expense of time and attention that's best directed towards your message. Avoid prescriptive notes or homilies. Telling readers not to print your email for environmental reasons may once have been a thoughtful reminder, but is now more likely to be taken as finger wagging. I personally don't see this as a problem anymore. The only people that could see it being a huge problem is for environmentalists, just not wanting to waste paper. But there are times where it is easier to print it out and go over it or keep it in documentation or as a second documentation other than your electronics. Because if your computer goes bad, then what are you going to do? You can go back to your file. Take your logo or other graphics out of your signature. Instead of your logo, recipients may get boxes, question marks, or even an alarming warning. This image has been removed for security reasons. This is definitely not a message you want to send. I've never come across a problem like this where you don't get the image, but it can happen. Never use animated graphics in professional communication. They can take extra time to load and are invariably distracting. Most are also unprofessional looking. You could do this probably within some of your buddies in your job, but you might not want to send something to this to somebody who's been working their whole life and they're more of a senior citizen. They're probably not going to find it as funny or hilarious as others. Remember that each reply adds to the problem. Important points can get lost in back and forth email exchanges. If readers have to plow through pages of extra material to find information sent earlier in the thread, which, yes, this happens a lot, where you just sending messages back and forth, and then you have to go back and scroll through it to find out exactly where the question was that you're trying to find or the answer. And I actually have this problem quite often as well. Well, that is the end of the presentation. All of this information is off of this website. This is where I got effective electronic communication, and it was on penandpixels.com. I got a handout for you that is actually from the website itself, and it's everything that's on it. And it also has a little bit more in depth on what I just talked about and how it can help out in electronic communication or email at work. So I've got some tips, and a lot of it is over the presentation itself. Are there any questions, or what did you think about the information given to you?
Good information. You know, I got, like you mentioned you had some of these problems, and like you, I've had multiple ones as well. Probably my biggest issue sometimes is with a project we're working on, we're sending emails back and forth with Italian equipment manufacturers. So not only do we have some of the electronic communication problems, but language issues too. So this is probably be helpful in that situation too. Good job.
So do you think, which one of these pointers do you think would work best for you? Or is there one that comes across more than others?
Probably the asking multiple questions. Maybe, you know, the answer to that is, instead of asking multiple questions, asking, you know, one single bullet point at a time.
One at a time?
Yeah, because I think with particularly those people that were Italian people that I was talking about, they've got their own jobs, and I try to send them a blanket email of multiple things just to not bother them multiple times.
Yeah.
But it might make more sense to just ask a couple questions here or there.
The only problem I see with that is if it does get into that long where you have to scroll back and find it. But if it's just a few questions, then it shouldn't be that bad. So.
Right. They do a pretty good job at numbering. This is my answer to 1. This is my answer to 2. This is my answer to 3, or highlighting it at color and showing the responses. But you can tell after they respond well to a couple points, they start losing interest after a while, and you don't get as good information on the last few things as you ask.
Well, that seems like it's that'll help out a lot. And well, thank you for your time, and that's my presentation. Thank you.